one of the things we talked about in the last couple of weeks that we keep getting asked more questions about is this PSA 9 situation. So we originally started talking about this because the centering was tightened up on their regulations for a PSA 10. And we said, what does this mean for a PSA 9? And then we began to talk about how a PSA 9 is practically raw or less than raw in a lot of situations. Not in every situation, but in most situations.
I think the question was, explain why PSA 9s aren't worth anything.
Why is a 9 worth less than a raw? So I'm going to let you open the floor with that. I certainly have some thoughts on it, but why is this happening? I would say it is happening the majority of the time. That's not stopping people from asking for more than raw, but if you want to move it, it basically has to move it raw.
Yeah. So here are the two things I would say in preface to me explaining the situation. One, the situation applies for the most part to base cards and high numbered or non-numbered parallels. Okay, when you start getting into super short printed stuff, you start getting into really rare stuff that's like 1 in every 6 or 8 cases type stuff. It's a little bit different. But the reason that this happened and the reason we find ourselves in this place is early on in the boom. And believe it or not, the boom for the hobby, this last boom, started before COVID. It exploded in COVID, but the boom started about a year before. Mid-2019, things really started to tick up. We had a couple of really good quarterback classes in a row in football. You had a couple of really good rookie classes in basketball. You had the Acuna, Soto, Vlad Guerrero Jr. effect in baseball, Tatis, those guys. So the hobby was starting to move upwards before COVID. And then COVID was just like pouring gasoline on an already lit fire. But one of the things that started happening, and early on in that boom, one of the ways that people were making 25, 30, 40x on their money legitimately was by sending off anything they could get their hands on that was low pop in the PSA pop reports and getting 10s on them. And at that point, PSA was still the company we sent our non-centered stuff to get 10s, right? Like it just was. Your nice stuff was still going to BGS in late 2019, even into the middle of 2020.
That's crazy to think about because people talk about that like it was 30 years ago.
Yeah, it was 5.
Yeah.
So that was going on.